Good morning. Hello, good morning, and welcome back to the channel. So today, on the YouTube channel of Jamin Williams, or Jay Willie, whatever it is at the time, we will be learning how to unicycle. So with unicycling, there's really three things that you need to know. Number one is balance. You gotta understand that balance, know the balance, and understand the physics of the balance. Number two is practice. And number three is just time. So let's get into it. So with the balance of a unicycle, you can think of it as balancing a stick on your hand. So if you have a stick on your hand and you're trying to balance it, the stick is running up and down this way. You're trying to balance it on your hand and it starts to fall forward. What do? You move your hand underneath it. So you keep that center of gravity up in a straight line, you keep it stacked, and you just have to move with it, right? So unicycling is very much the same. The only difference is you have pedals to control that, and it's not just a direct movement from your hand. So what you're doing here is basically when I get on it, I'm sucking it up under my body and trying to keep it under my body. But with unicycling, you're always really staying moving. So I suck it under, and as you see, the unicycle would fall forward if I didn't pedal forward. So now I'm stopping, and see how it leaned back there? When it leans back, you have to pedal backwards or in order for it to straighten out. Also, if you're leaning forward, you would fall forward, the wheel would go backward if you didn't pedal. So when it starts to lean forward, you have to now pedal forward to bring that wheel forward and stack the center of gravity again. So that's the physics of it. Number two is practice. And I'll show you some good ways to mount and some tips at the end. But number two is practice. If you don't practice, you're not gonna get it. If you're not willing to put in the time, you're also not gonna get it. I'm sorry, there's no easy tricks. Some people tell you to hold onto a wall or a railing when you start. I don't like that method because it ingrains in your mind that you have that something to lean on, and when you leave that, you become scared. And for some people it works, and that's great. For me, I just started like this. So I'll try and get you a good angle here. I started like this. So basically with the crank straight up and down like that, or straight down, and you start with the lower foot. So you throw that lower foot on there, and you kind of jump up on it and pedal forward. So this way forces you into it to pedal forward. Now I do a more advanced way I step on, which is like this, and you're basically stepping backward and it sucks it up under your body. I don't recommend that to start. I recommend the way with the crank all the way down, because you're pushing forward and you're basically using momentum, and you just have to commit. One big thing is always committing. And number three is time. So time, it probably took me a good 20 hours before I was able to ride even 10 or 20 feet. And the way I calculated that 20 hours is I put in a good 2 weeks, and I was calculating it on the way unicycling out here. If I put in 2 hours a day, some days I put in 4, but I was just relentless in learning how to use this thing once I got it. So I basically 2 hours a day, we'll run the benchmark there, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week for 2 weeks, there's 20 hours. So that's where that number came from. And that was only to ride 10 or 20 feet. But if you have the time, or not if you have the time, if you put in the time, you'll get it. If you, like, nothing comes easy. This doesn't come easy, nor do any tricks or jumps or anything. So just stay to it, and you'll definitely get it. Okay, a few tips I have for you, which are not secrets or anything that's gonna make you magically perfect at unicycling, but a tip I have, I'm right here. There's a little bit of a hill sloping downward here. So I started riding on flat, and it was all right. Uphill is definitely a little bit harder, a slight incline. A slight decline is a little bit better because it just kind of forces you to go forward. So it's already kind of rolling forward. It defeats, what I did a lot when I was starting was I would get on and be in a spot where one pedal is at the bottom dead center and one pedal is at the top dead center, and I was kind of stuck there. What you realize when you unicycle a lot is that you can actually overcome that by like a good little jolt. You lean forward and you just kind of jolt the pedals and it'll go. You have, in my case, 160 pounds on this tire, and conditioned in you, is in me anyways, was something that thought this tire would slip. Now this is wet pavement right now and I'm not slipping. You can really get sideways and you'll be fine. Ice is a little scary. However, if you're just like learning to idle, which is just a back and forth like this, sometimes you think that you can't lean that far, but you got to remember that your whole body weight is on this tire. And what I run for pressure, I'd like to say is around 50 or 60 pounds. Another tip that I have for you guys is to move your seat up more. Now I started with a low seat. When you're learning, you don't really want to be high off the ground, but at the same time, if you're a biker at all, road biker, mountain biker, whatever, you know that having a higher seat allows you more torque on the pedals because of the geometry of your legs. So when you move your seat up, in effect, you are increasing the torque you can put down on the pedals, and that also helps out with those like slow twitchy movements, say like when I'm downhill here, but when you're stopped and you need to like really maneuver it quickly like that, that really helps. A good tip is to have a goal or something to unicycle toward. So right here, I have my unicycle and I have this crack in the path here about 6 feet ahead, and that gives you something to focus on. Another tip inside the tip here is to look up. So it's scary because you don't really know where the pedals are, but put your 1 foot on. So whether it's like this, put your 1 foot on, get ready, so kind of jump into it, and then quickly put your head up. And what that does, once your other foot is on the pedal as well, what that does is it gives you better balance. When you're looking down, you're very shaky. It's the same with riding planks on a mountain bike. You have to look up. If you want to stay on this yellow line, you have to look ahead at where you're going, not where you are. If you're looking where you are, you'll likely fall off because you don't know where you're going. Tip inside a tip right there. Let's try this. So, put the pedal on, look up right away, and across your goal. So, that really helps. Say you have a partner, just a friend, have them stand 6 feet away from you, 10 feet, 20 feet, maybe you start with 2 feet. But as long as both feet get on the pedals, they can just commit, pedal over to you, and then fall into you if really needed. And that's how my girlfriend is starting to learn now. Great way to do it. It gives them some motivation and somewhere to go. Ooh, another good tip. Find somebody that can unicycle and ask them to just teach you. With me anyways, I find it very beneficial to find somebody that can do whatever you're trying to do, and then they can tell you all the problems they had trying to do it. So one of them, a good example, is learning how to whip on a mountain bike. So I was having trouble with whips. They were like these, if you don't know what a whip is, it's when your back end comes out on a bike going over a jump, comes out and comes back in, like a fishtail kind of thing. And couldn't really do it. I don't know if I know I wasn't committing, and I just didn't really know like what it felt like until I followed right behind down the same line of dirt jumps a buddy of mine. His name's Jared, and following him and just seeing his whips go over the jumps and how he just like kicks it out and brings it back. You follow somebody behind, somebody like that, and naturally your mind and your body just go, oh, that's how you do it, and then you do it. You guys have any tips for unicycling? No? Thank you. What else can I tell you guys? Do you have any tips for unicycling? Be careful, okay. Remember to be careful as well. If you're learning, wear a helmet. I haven't crashed yet, knock on wood, but do wear a helmet. I haven't fallen and smacked my head, but that would definitely be a good idea. I've smacked my head quite a few times biking and BMXing, and sometimes it just comes out of nowhere, and next thing you know, you're on the ground and you smack your head and your head's kind of ringing a bit. So yeah, wear a helmet. You can see that lean here. When the unicycle goes forward, you gotta pedal harder, and then when you're slowing down, you can lean back, but you're also putting pressure on the back of the pedals to slow down. I'll show you that again because I think it really helps to see it, to visualize it. So accelerating, See, I'm leaning forward, braking, leaning back. Going pretty neutral, it's pretty straight up and down. Now that works the same with going backwards. Come over here. Let's try going backwards. See how I lean back there? Whoa. Do you have any tips for unicycling? Don't stand up in a canoe. That's another tip. I don't think we'll put that in.